city was enveloped in an icy embrace by the winter night, and everyone walking by felt the cold sink into their bones. With snow sparkling on the pavements, the only sound in the distance was the occasional passing car. On this particular night, I was pulled to an enigmatic occurrence that had the potential to shatter reality and engulf me in terrifying mystery. I was walking through the empty streets when I noticed some strange writing that had emerged overnight on the city's billboards. The words seemed to pulse with an ethereal energy, written in a handwriting that was otherworldly. I was intrigued and unnerved as I pursued the trail of these mysterious messages, getting closer to the core of a mystery that defied comprehension with each step. The instructions sent me to a deserted warehouse outside of the city, a massive building that glowed against the darkness of the winter's night. The shadows appeared to have a life of their own, and the air surrounding the warehouse hummed with an invisible energy. The temperature dropped as I got closer to the entrance, and an unearthly silence descended upon the barren landscape. With a grudging sigh, the enormous doors opened to show the warehouse's vast interior. The moonlight peeking through the broken windows was the only source of illumination. I felt a chill run down my spine as I made my way more into the poorly lighted area and heard the sound of my footfall mixed with an unsettling quiet. A curious portal had appeared in the center of the warehouse. It was an alien portal, pulsating with an unnatural brightness. I felt as though the mysterious words on the billboards were drawing closer to this strange entrance, inviting me to venture into the uncharted territory. An old energy shimmered in the air around the gateway, and a quiet but authoritative voice resounded throughout the barren area. "Welcome, seeker of the frozen echoes. The gateway is waiting for those who dare enter, and the mysteries of the winter night will be disclosed." Defying my natural trepidation, I moved toward the gateway. A ghostly symphony of whispers from the wintry night seemed to concentrate around me. The world around me distorted and changed as I passed through the gateway, taking me to a strange place where the laws of reality had been altered. Stretching out before me was the terrain, a frozen dreamscape illuminated by an unearthly light. Trees stood like solemn sentinels, glittering frost adorning their branches. I could feel the ethereal glow of the ground beneath my feet and the sound of a far-off winter wind echoing in the air. With a foreboding thud, the gateway behind me closed, leaving me by myself in this ghostly world. The mysterious and cryptic messages that had brought me here now reverberated in my thoughts. The frozen echoes seemed to dance in the shadows, whispering stories of an old force that existed beyond the limits of reality, and the winter night held its secrets near. There was a force to the crackling of the air as I made my way through the frozen landscape. The trees swayed in a rhythm that appeared otherworldly, their limbs reaching toward the sky. The cold night's murmurs became louder, and a sensation of dread descended upon the bizarre world. A figure appeared out of the darkness in the distance, a ghostly form shrouded in a cold mist. Its eyes stared at mine with a terrifying wisdom, and arrived in the dimension that lies between the known and the unknown. The world of the frozen echoes. This place holds mysteries that require bravery and open mind to unravel. The apparition then pointed to a far-off building, a soaring ice palace rising like a spectral fortress from the frozen tundra. An old spirit shimmered in the air, and the murmurs of the wintry night appeared to gather around the mysterious palace. I moved toward the ice castle, propelled by an unidentified power. A bizarre spectacle was created as the ambient glow of the frozen environment was reflected by its crystalline walls. I felt drawn to enter via the gigantic gateway ornamented with detailed ice carvings at the entryway. The air inside the palace seemed to thicken as I stepped across the doorway, and a strange silence descended upon the frigid hallways. The ice palace's inside was a maze of frozen rooms decorated with intricate ice sculptures that portrayed scenarios from long-forgotten stories. Through the maze, I was led by the whispers of the winter night, which revealed bits and pieces of an old story about a power that had been captured and kept inside the frozen echoes. The air grew colder, and my footsteps echoed through the frozen halls as I ventured deeper into the center of the ice castle. Now carved into the ice walls, the mysterious inscriptions seemed to pulse with a spirit-like energy. A mystery of the icy echoes emerged like a spooky symphony as the winter night held its breath. A hall filled with an unearthly light greeted them in the inner sanctum of the ice palace. An ancient relic sat motionless in its core, a crystalline sphere that appeared to hold the essence of the winter night itself. The murmurs gathered around the relic, their voices blending into a ghostly choir that reverberated across the ice-filled room. Once again, the ethereal figure materialized, its eyes full of a disturbing intensity. The artifact holds the key to unlocking the frozen echo's riddles. You have to become a conduit for the buried energy within, and accept the essence of the winter night in order to unleash its power. I stepped closer to the crystal ball, apprehensive. Something made the air crackle, and the sounds of the wintry night appeared to gather in the room. I felt a rush of energy as I touched the item, and I became less conscious of the otherworldly and more of myself. My eyes were filled with dancing visions of the winter night, a tapestry of icy landscapes, ghostly figures, and unintelligible messages. The mystery of the frozen echoes revealed itself like a kaleidoscope of terrifying insights, and the echoes of the ancient power reverberated within. The energy within the artifact surged, causing the ice palace to quiver. The winter's murmurs grew louder, filling the cold chamber with a discordant symphony. A mysterious writing carved into the walls of ice appeared to come to life, its meanings blending with the ghostly chorus that surrounded me. At the pinnacle of the phantom symphony, the ice castle appeared to float above the strange world. The very fabric of reality seemed to bend and change as the frozen echoes reverberated with an unearthly force. A mystery that had drew me into this otherworldly realm peaked, as the wintry night held its breath. Abruptly, the ghostly figure spoke, her voice resonating through the frigid hallways. The ultimate test is yet ahead, but the mysteries of the frozen echoes have been revealed. You have to decide whether to accept the old power or go back to the known, because the line between the realms is thin. Gravity drew me in the direction of the doorway, as the diagram indicated it. The crystalline orb appeared to be in tune with the whispers of the wintry night as it pulsated with renewed vigor. I had to decide whether to accept the mysteries of the frozen echoes and become a receptacle for the old power, or go back to the familiar world. I hesitated at that crucial time, caught between the security of the known and the attraction of the paranormal. With eyes full of eerie wisdom, the ghostly figure observed silently. My inner turmoil seemed to be echoed by the whispers of the winter night, pressing me to make a decision that would determine my future. Reluctantly, I went in the direction of the gateway. The crystalline orb pulsed with an eerie brilliance, now imbued with the ancient power. The murmurs of the wintry night intensified as the ice castle shook. The world of the frozen echoes vanished as soon as I stepped across the threshold, and the familiar surroundings of the city sprang to life. Even though it was still cold, the winter night felt more typical. The mysterious words that formerly adorned the billboards were disappeared, leaving only the eerie recollections of the otherworldly realm. The portal was closed now, only a faint echo in the back of my consciousness. The sounds of the frozen dimension continued to reverberate like ghostly residue as I stood there by myself in the empty streets. My decision reverberated through the wintry night, a menacing reminder that the mysteries of the frozen echoes would always remain a part of the mysterious stories murmuring in the quiet corners of reality. The city lay under a blanket of snow, its buildings decked with glittering lights that flickered like distant stars. The streets were empty, the air cold, and my footsteps blended in with the quiet murmurs of the night. I had no idea that a strange tune would greet me as I strolled through the serene city, a melody that would defy logic and transport me to a terrifying symphony. I got a strange invitation to a private concert, and that's when it all started. The location, an old theater tucked away in the middle of the city, had been deserted for a long time. I was pulled to the theater on a wintry night, the icy wind nipping at my skin as I neared its great entrance, intrigued by the mystery behind the invitation. With a spooky groan, the elaborate doors opened to show the rundown interior of the abandoned theater, the only light coming from the weak moonlight coming in through shattered windows, and the air was heavy with the musty smell of old wood. There was a noticeable sense of unease, as the silence appeared to grow as I wandered deeper into the shadows. A gentle tune, both eerie and melodic, reverberated around the vacant theater. I was drawn to the stage by the captivating music, much like a moth to a flame. The music's wispy notes continued to dance on the brink of perception, but its source remained hidden. I walked onto the stage, the eerie song enveloping me like a ghostly hug. The enigmatic musician's invisible presence gave the once deserted and forsaken theater a sense of life. The stage's ancient, The grand piano played itself, its keys gliding with an ethereal elegance, and invisible violin strings reverberated through the air, and the ethereal music evoked memories of a different time when the theater was filled with the cheers of a mesmerized audience. A phantom musician with sunken eyes that seemed to pierce the darkness materialized as the silent symphony progressed. The song seemed to come straight from the very core of the enigmatic person. It was both entrancing and melancholy. The spectral performer seemed to have crossed over into the dead to sing a melancholic song to the lone patron of the shuttered theater. The figure pointed to an antiquated-looking music sheet on the grand piano in the weak light of the moon. The script appeared to defy comprehension, and the notes begged me to participate in this ethereal performance. I walked over to the piano and, propelled by some unknown force, nervously put my hands on the keys. And with an unearthly vitality, the song sprang alive as my fingertips touched the cool ivory. My hand touched the piano, and its keys moved in a way that was beyond description. With empty eyes, the ghostly performer, now accompanied by an unseen orchestra, observed the silent symphony that filled the deserted auditorium. The music told a story of grief and longing that appeared to transcend the everyday. Every note carried the ghosts of bygone times, and the ethereal tune seemed to enchant the abandoned theater. The phantom symphony that reverberated through the silent night was played on the grand piano by unseen hands. The man in the shadows waved to the audience seats as the quiet symphony reached its crescendo. The empty chairs appeared to be alive with the presence of invisible viewers, since they were suddenly illuminated by an unearthly light. The eerie tune filled the theater with an ethereal resonance, and the air was charged with an energy that was beyond the tangible. The creature in the shadows spoke abruptly, a ghostly whisper that echoed through the deserted room. "You have been selected to participate in the Silent Symphony, a performance that reverberates across the ages. The secret to a long-forgotten story that begs to be discovered lies in the music." The phantom musician and I both continued the melancholy melody on the grand piano. The auditorium appeared to sway and change as the invisible orchestra became more intense, as if it were being affected by some otherworldly force. A narrative woven into the very fabric of the silent symphony was revealed as the visions of a bygone period flickered on the borders of perception. I caught snippets of a tragic story, a love story that had crossed the line between life and death. As the music whirled around me, the audience members, who had transformed into spectral figures, observed with hollow eyes as the silent symphony revealed the story that had been lost to time. The feelings enshrined in the ethereal music sheet found a voice in the grand piano. The notes talked of love and grief, betrayal and redemption. They were written in a language of the hereafter. The audience members appeared to recreate the feelings of a bygone era as their spectral forms swayed to the eerie music. And with a deft wave of its hands, the ghostly musician, now an apparition conducting the silent symphony, led the piece. The theater itself appeared to reverberate with the ghosts of the lost story, and the music surged with unearthly strength. The lines between the otherworldly and the actual world dissolved, and I was engrossed in a ghostly performance that defied reason. The individuals in the audience seats started to disappear as the silent symphony drew to an end, their ghostly forms vanishing into the darkness. The eerie music continued to reverberate from the grand piano, whose keys had fallen silent. The shadowy apparition turned to face me, a frightening thanks shining in its lifeless eyes. As a spectator to a story that exists outside of time, you have joined the silent symphony. The story that was long forgotten has now been unveiled, and the ghostly performance's after effects will continue to reverberate in your mind. The figure vanished into the night after saying those words, leaving me alone myself in the deserted theater. The faint, far-off moonlight created lengthy shadows on the platform. Now silent, the grand piano stood as a remnant of the otherworldly performance that had just taken place. The theater appeared to revert to its deserted state as I walked off stage and approached the exit. There was an eerie resonance in the air that was beyond description. The echoes of the silent symphony, the enigmatic invitation, the ghostly musician, and the lost story combined to form a terrifying memory carved into the wintry night. The night silence enveloped me again as I ventured out into the chilly city. The audience members in their seats, the invisible orchestra, and the grand piano all turned into phantom performances that existed outside the realm of the commonplace. The silent symphony had revealed its secrets, and the winter night held its mysteries close, a terrifying reminder that some stories are better heard in the haunting echoes of the paranormal. The moon illuminated the snow-covered countryside with an ethereal glow, creating a maze of shadows during the winter night. There was a profound silence in the darkness, and the air was crisp. This was the kind of night when the stories of a strange trail that cut through the center of a thick forest outside of town drew my attention. The people there whispered about the Frostbitten Trail, a trail that descended deep into the forest, its snow-covered trees standing like sentinels, awaiting the revelation of the frozen wastes. I made the decision to set out on a quest to solve the mystery shrouded in the winter night, because I was intrigued by rumors of an old curse and the strange things that had happened along the road. The air became icier as I made my way deeper into the dark forest, and a menacing hush descended upon the snow-covered trees. Every step I took served as a reminder of the isolation that surrounded me. As my boots crunched on the frozen ground, the skeletal branches let in moonlight, which produced a complex pattern of shadows on the immaculate snow. The Frostbitten Trail drifted across the center of the forest, dotted with the faint footprints of those who had ventured to discover its mysteries. The wind seemed to be whispering stories about old spirits and the terrible fate that waited for anybody who ventured down that road. The foreboding mood didn't stop me from moving further. I was determined to find the truth concealed in the freezing wilderness. I could feel something uncomfortable nibbling at the boundaries of my awareness as I ventured farther into the woodland. The trees appeared to be silently warning us, their branches intertwined like skeletal fingers. On the snow, the shadows danced and took on forms that were beyond description. It appeared as though the entire foundation of reality had broken down, letting the paranormal infiltrate the everyday. The temperature continued to plummet, and an ethereal fog persisted in the atmosphere. I could hardly see the track anymore, but it led to a clearing that was illuminated by a strange light. A gnarled tree with twisted branches stretching up into the sky stood in the middle of the clearing. There was no snow on the ground around it, and the frozen ground looked to be pulsating with an old vitality. The wind's murmurs grew louder as they got closer to the enigmatic tree, a eerie chorus of faint voices that spoke of an old curse, and the cost to those who pursued the Frostbitten Trail's mysteries seemed to reverberate through the silence. The temperature dropped to an intolerable level, and the air crackled with an invisible force. A voice resounded in the clearing, not human, nor otherworldly. You've entered the domain of the icy spirits by mistake. Only those who are prepared to pay the price can discover the secrets of the Frostbitten Trail. The twisted tree appeared to come to life, its branches writhing and swaying as though under the influence of an alien power. The earth shook under my boots, and a ghostly mist shrouded the clearing. I experienced a shiver that seeped into my bones, a coldness that penetrated my spirit and went beyond the material world. The wind's voices discussed a decision, an antiquated agreement that tied the inquisitive to the spirits of the cold. A sacrifice of a soul intermingled with the mysteries of the Frostbitten Trail must be made to the frozen ground in order to lift the curse. The gnarled tree seemed to beckon, its twisted branches pointing towards a foreboding emptiness, and I felt the weight of that decision bearing down on me. A ghostly creature covered in a cold mist materialized out of the darkness among the paranormal chaos. The creature looked directly into my eyes, her eyes full of eerie insight. To break the curse, you must choose the path of sacrifice or the eternal embrace of the frost spirits. The murmurs in the wind felt like they were calling for me to make a decision. An unearthly energy permeated the very air, and the spirits of the frost awaited my choice. The ancient power of the gnarled tree seemed to pulse through its branches, as though they were calling for a soul to please the frozen wilderness. The weight of the decision pressing down on me caused me to hesitate, a knot of terror entwining itself around me and the mysterious force pulling me toward the gnarled tree. The shadowy figure observed me with lifeless eyes, its existence a quiet observer of the decision that would determine my future. I took a step toward the twisted tree, a hesitant surrender. The voices in the wind grew louder, and there was an invisible power causing the air to crackle. I felt as though the cold earth was beating beneath my feet. The tree's twisted limbs reached out, their cold touch sending a chill down my spine. The area was filled with blinding brightness as I submitted myself to the freezing earth. The wind began to crescendo with voices, creating an unearthly chorus, and the temperature fell to an intolerable level. The ancient energy of the Frostbitten trail rushed about me, as the spectral figure observed in quiet. I was standing by myself in the clearing when the light faded. With its branches twisted in frozen contortions, the gnarled tree stood quiet. There was a strange quiet in the icy tundra, as the murmurs in the wind had stopped. A man appeared in the mist, eyes full of eerie thanks. Even if you have decided to lift the curse, this night's effects will not go away. Forever, those who are curious about the unknown can find their way down the Frostbitten trail. I turned around and headed back down the now well-traveled path as the figure vanished into the darkness. The woodland, which had been enveloped in a strange force, appeared to revert to a somewhat typical state. Long shadows were created by the moonlight on the snow, and the tree's skeletal branches ceased to dangle warningly and were silent. The familiar coolness of winter night grabbed me as I emerged from the trees. Ahead, with its lights sparkling in the distance, lay the town. Even after the ancient curse was lifted and the mysteries behind the Frostbitten trail were revealed, the consequences of that terrible night continued to reverberate. I couldn't get rid of the sensation that the frost spirits were still whispering in the wind as winter returned to the town. The recollections of the ethereal mist and the frightening whispers lingered in the back of my mind, and the cold wilderness held its secrets close. The secrets of the Frostbitten trail had been solved, but the cost had been borne in and would always remain part of the spooky stories told on cold winter evenings.